Before we conquered the sky conquered us. The wind howled across an empty stretch of sand. The ocean roared like a restless giant. Two fragile wings of canvas trembled against the cold December air. No one watching that morning in 1903 could truly understand what stood before them. It didn't look like history. It looked like madness. And yet, within seconds, the world would change forever. For thousands of years, humanity stared upward with envy. Birds soared effortlessly across the horizon. Clouds drifted like kingdoms in the sky. Ancient civilizations dreamed of flight long before science could explain it. The Greek myth of Icarus warned of flying too close to the sun. In China, kites danced in the wind centuries before Europe imagined controlled lift. Leonardo da Vinci sketched flying machines in the 15th century, filling notebooks with wings, gears, and impossible hope. But dreaming was easy. Flying was not. Again and again, inventors tried and failed. Gliders crashed, wings collapsed, engines were too heavy. The sky remained untouchable. It seemed the heavens were reserved for birds and gods, until two bicycle mechanics from Ohio decided otherwise. Wilbur and Orville Wright were not wealthy. They were not famous. They didn't have government funding or grand laboratories. What they had was stubborn curiosity. They studied how birds tilted their wings. They built small gliders and tested them against the unforgiving winds of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. They failed, then failed again. Crashes left bruises and broken wood. Critics called them foolish. But the brothers noticed something others missed. Control mattered more than power. On December 17, 1903, with freezing fingers and racing hearts, they launched the Wright Flyer. 12 seconds, 120 feet. That was all. But in those 12 seconds, humanity lifted itself off the earth. The age of flight had begun. At first, airplanes were fragile creatures of wooden fabric. They buzzed like dragonflies over fields and fairgrounds. People paid coins just to watch them rise a few hundred feet into the air. But innovation moves quickly once it takes flight. World War I transformed airplanes from fragile experiments into machines of strategy and power. Pilots became aerial knights, dueling high above trenches. Technology advanced rapidly. Stronger frames, synchronized machine guns, better engines. Flight was no longer a spectacle. It was a weapon. By the 1920s and 30s, aviation turned toward something different, connection. In 1927, a young airmail pilot named Charles Lindbergh climbed into a small monoplane called the Spirit of St. Louis, alone, no co-pilot, no radio, 33 hours over the Atlantic Ocean. The world held its breath. When he landed in Paris, exhausted but alive, crowds erupted. The impossible had become possible again. Oceans no longer separated continents the same way. The world felt smaller. Airplanes were no longer novelties, they were bridges. Then came World War II. Aircraft technology exploded forward. Metal replaced wood. Speed doubled. Radar emerged. Massive bombers darkened skies. Fighter planes roared at hundreds of miles per hour. The sky had become a battlefield of thunder. Yet even amid destruction, progress surged. Engineers learned to pressurize cabins. Jet engines were born. The German Messerschmitt Me-262 became the first operational jet fighter, hinting at a future faster than propellers could allow. When the war ended, the jet age was waiting. In 1952, the de Havilland Comet became the world's first commercial jet airliner. It was sleek, fast, revolutionary, and flawed. Structural failures caused tragic crashes. The world was reminded, again, that the sky demanded respect. Engineers studied the wreckage carefully. They discovered metal fatigue, redesigned windows, reinforced fuselages. Each failure carried painful lessons. Aviation matured through both triumph and tragedy. By the late 1950s, the Boeing 707 ushered in the golden age of jet travel. Suddenly crossing continents took hours instead of days. Flight attendants in crisp uniforms welcomed passengers into pressurized cabins. Families could vacation overseas. Business became global. Air travel wasn't just for adventurers anymore. It was for everyone. Then came a giant. In 1969, as Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, another marvel rolled out of a hangar, the Boeing 747, the queen of the skies. With its iconic hump and enormous wingspan, it could carry hundreds of passengers at once. Airports expanded. Tourism exploded. Entire economies reshaped themselves around flight. Airplanes had evolved from fragile canvas to flying cities. And still, innovation continued. Supersonic flight arrived with Concorde in 1976. It sliced across the Atlantic faster than the speed of sound, turning a 7-hour trip into 3. Passengers sipped champagne while breaking the sound barrier. But speed came at a cost. Noise, fuel consumption, economics. Concorde retired in 2003, a symbol of both ambition and limitation. Meanwhile, engineers focused on efficiency. Lighter composite materials, advanced aerodynamics, computerized flight systems. Modern aircraft like the Boeing 707 Dreamliner and Airbus A350 use carbon fiber bodies, quieter engines, and long-range capabilities that connect nearly any two cities on Earth. Today, over 100,000 flights take off and land every single day. Think about that. At any given moment,
Thousands of airplanes are suspended above us, crossing oceans, carrying loved ones home, transporting medicine, delivering dreams. The sky is no longer empty. It is alive. And yet, the story isn't finished. Electric aircraft are being tested. Sustainable aviation fuel is reshaping environmental impact. Engineers are revisiting supersonic travel with quieter designs. Autonomous flight systems grow more advanced each year. The next revolution is already forming beyond the clouds. Because the truth is, flight was never just about machines. It was about defiance. It was about humanity looking at something unreachable and saying, why not? From fragile wooden wings trembling in the wind to massive jets crossing hemispheres overnight, airplanes tell a story of persistence, of learning from failure, of daring to rise after falling. We once believed the sky was a boundary. Now we know. It was only the beginning.